Hey guys, hi. I'm still using Prism Studio. A report on I've already did so individually for each of those things, except for one maybe, but it's really not anything worth mentioning even, I would say. So my latest single is out, obviously, or could potentially even be maybe described as EP. I don't know. It's a single track. It's 20-minute long. Experimental sound art type of thing. Okay. And my hand is already getting cold. Actually, it doesn't, but I know it will hurt later. My hands are little bitches when it comes to cold. They'll literally fall apart. Even if during a nice warm day, like cold breeze, you know, but grazes, but brushes against my fucking hands, they literally fall into pieces. So latest single is out, obviously, and about a week ago, I think, it was delivered to the legacy streaming services finally. Well, actually, it was delivered quite a while ago. My release date was set to October 14th, I believe, because I wanted it to be delivered before the release date so that I have a little bit of a window, so I could actually try using the Spotify promotion tools, which, like, the only promotion tool that they have, like, for free. I mean, obviously there's advertisement, but it's technically not a promotion tool for your music. It's just an advertisement, you know, whatever you call it, like system, you know, for the platform. But the promotional tool they have, you can submit it to relevant playlists. I suppose it's curated, and Spotify itself would decide where the thing would go. But every time you have a new release, you can submit it for, I suppose, Spotify approval on whether they want to promote your track or not. You just kind of have to tell them the genre and also explain a little bit what kind of track it is, what it's about, or like what. Which is strange, actually, because if you really think about it, they only give you, I think, like 100 characters. It's basically the length of a tweet to explain what the track is about. And it's like, I don't know, even for a pop song, it could be a little bit short. I believe. I'm not entirely 100% sure what is it that they look for in those descriptions. But yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I realize that a lot of people release music on Spotify like every day, probably millions or something, you know, of songs go live every day on Spotify, but literally all of that just goes into the void as far as Spotify itself is concerned, unless you specifically submit that song before its release. So it needs to be uploaded to Spotify with the release date set way in the future, and then you can submit it to Spotify, and then Spotify, I suppose, will manually check if they want to put it in any of the curated playlists or not, which is interesting. Another interesting thing is that you cannot do that with the track that has already been released. You cannot do that with a track that's literally 1 day old. So that's just the extension of the disposable nature of this bullshit we have for pop culture these days. So if my song is 1 day old, it's old news. No one cares about it. We're not gonna promote that shit. Like, dude, you released that thing yesterday. Like, who cares? You know, you got anything today? You know, you got to release an album every day, dude. Don't you know? Like, what kind of content creator are you? You don't have a song every day? Anyway, so fun times. You can only submit a song if it was, I mean, it makes sense if the song hasn't been released yet, but the ridiculous thing is that even if your song is 1 day old, Spotify is already automatically, nope, just dead cut off. Nope, not interested. Your song might as well just be like 20 years old. Even if 20 years old, like what the hell? It is ridiculous to me that Spotify itself doesn't even, like, it didn't even cross their mind that music is not TikTok content. Music is, in the language of TikTok and YouTube, is what you would call evergreen content. But nope, if it's one day old, it's old news, man. We're not interested. So, yeah. So the song was actually delivered to Spotify's and such, I think, about a week before its release. And I think the release was either October 14th or 16th, something like that. So it did come out, right? I posted about that on my Patreon. And before that, the song was available for over 2 weeks, I believe, on Bandcamp and YouTube. I'm talking about Sonetta's Universorum, of course. And what else? I did update the demo for CLOUDOME, CLOUDOME XS, as I'm calling that build, the one that's actually mostly walkable, like first-person adventure experience. And I have, like, I don't know why. I think I was just like so happy that I finally implemented the controller support for the, well, for the flight controls. Come on, dude. Maybe let's go for another 5-minute walkie. I just didn't want to. I didn't even want to touch it, the walking controller. I didn't even want to touch the walking controller because it started originally as not my controller, but the Unity's first-person walking controller, and I just didn't want to, like, go back into that mess. That controller is so badly written. And yeah, I finally went into it. It took me about 6 hours, I believe, but I did fix it. So now the walking controller of CLOUDOME also come down. Also, oh, I don't want to go through that bush there. Let me, let's go here. It also has full controller support, and actually, you're not gonna believe it, but the way Unity wrote that controller, they had this stupid normalize function that basically locked your inputs into either 0 state or 100 state. So it's like 0% or 100%, and that's it. You could only go either on or off. There was no smoothing to to your movement at all, which I didn't even know was a thing, because it definitely felt like, you know, you were accelerating in one frame from 0 to 100, which is not how video games do things at all. And yep, I looked at the code finally, specifically for that portion, and yeah, that's exactly how they do it. Unity must be out of their fucking mind. Like, do they need like actual programmers or something? It's ridiculous. Anyway, so I fixed it. Even with the keyboard inputs, I mean, for the controller stick inputs, obviously there's already built-in smoothing of, you know, the analog stick. So I decided not to make that portion any less responsive. But I did implement, specifically for keyboard inputs, a little bit of smoothing, so that you can actually precisely position yourself now where you want to, you know, stand when you do puzzles, for example, instead of like overshooting from just lightly touching a button, overshooting like 5 meters to the side of the, you know, point where you want to be standing. So yeah, updated that thing. Also a couple of new fixes. I've, you know, changed the starting point of the whole demo closer, well, super close, right next to an open structure. It's the first structure, so that you can actually land and, you know, see for yourself that the walking controller is functioning now. I hit the cockpit from the title screen view. You know, just a few minor fixes. So yeah, I've uploaded that to IndieDB Again, it's also on my Patreon. And one last thing that yeah, so those would be like my 4 last posts on Patreon, including the single Sonetas Universorum itself, because Patreon no longer has a 100% separate shop function. Now its shop is just the extension of your posts. So when you add something to the shop, it doubles as a post. So your feed basically gets spammed by, okay, you added something to the shop, it's on the feed wall now. And then if you want to make like an actual proper announcement about it, that's going to go right after that. So that's fantastic, you know. So pretty spammy, doesn't look good. But yeah, so the last 5 posts on Patreon would be one about Sonetas Universorum being on Bandcamp and YouTube. Then it's probably the thing itself somewhere like on the Patreon shop. Then it's probably just what I posted just the other day about CLOUDOME controller support demo update, CLOUDOME support demo v2. And yeah, man. One last thing that isn't even worthy of reporting would be that I did on my website updated memory list a little bit, which is like a curated list of video games I think Zoomers ought to try. Essentially, it's like Zoomer accessible non-modern gaming. And yeah, I don't remember what I did there. Quite a few years ago, I had the idea, I think even since day one, ever since I even thought of memory list, like the original draft of it did have the Tomb Raider, like modern trauma reimagination trilogy. But I've only played 1 at that point, and I played a little bit of 2, and I kind of hated the opening. And 1 was kind of outdated, janky, and jerky, and whatnot. It's a very floaty game. It's a game that's very difficult to take serious. So I decided not to add the whole thing at all. But as I, you know, in the last year or so have actually returned to adding things to memory list, I've realized that, well, this list needs to be more about like Zoomer grade, right? Like Zoomer digestible, non, you know, like modern slop. Maybe slop, but from a different era when it wasn't actually as bad, and it could even potentially be used as a window into real gaming. So yeah, and you know what, the first game isn't really all that bad, and I just recently played the second game, and it's actually really good by the modern standards. I mean, you compare that to playing something like whatever Ubisoft has done in the last 10 years, it's night and day, you know. It's a frigging masterpiece. And it looks amazing, by the way, too. It looks like 5 times better than most modern games do. Especially the AA slop, or the AA Unreal Engine 5 slop. Like, I've played the RoboCop games recently, and the RoboCop games basically have PlayStation 3 graphics, but with Unreal Engine 5 lighting, which actually looks kind of weird. It creates a very weird effect that almost tricks your brain into occasionally thinking, wow, this looks amazing. But then you really look at it up close, and it's just like, wow, this is cheap, you know? So anyway, yeah. Before the era of just using regurgitated, you know, third-party prefabs left and right, and probably even AI tools left and right, like AAA gaming used to be able to produce some absolutely insane graphics. Like some of the Remedy's games, like Alan Wake 1 still looks mind-blowing, right? Well, except for the like facial animations of characters, right? But everything else in that game looks just absolutely mind-blowing, right? Especially when you consider when that game came out. Control by Remedy is kind of the same way. Control, till this day, Control is used as a bit of a benchmark for graphics. Not necessarily for how things run, because the game actually runs rather well, but for how, the game can look. And yeah, and the Tomb Raider games aren't necessarily a big exception. As you might know, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, till this very day, is used as a bit of a benchmark for hardware, gaming one, at least. So yeah, fun times. I am yet to play Shadow. Maybe I will in a couple of years. Maybe in a couple of months or so I will get the opportunity to finish Rise. But yeah, Rise, I don't know. A lot of people say crap about Shadow, so that's why I'm gonna hold off on saying anything about it, honestly. I've played the demo, I think, or maybe it was not the demo, it was just like first, I don't know, 20 minutes of it, I think, on like a friend's account. I think I was either borrowing a friend's PlayStation at the time, or maybe I was borrowing an account, so to speak. I don't remember when it was that I played Shadow, but I do remember playing and it was not like on my rig, it was not at like 10 FPS. No, I do remember playing it properly for probably about 30 minutes, basically the opening, right, before it goes into that Mexican like some kind of city thing, whatever, right? Walking set piece. Like it actually opens with a little bit of like a Indiana Jones type of whatever scene. And I do remember playing that, and it felt totally fine to me, actually. I was rather impressed. And yeah, like people say Shadow sucks, people say Rise sucks, but here I am. I read some opinions previously about like Rise being absolute garbage and trash and like the worst in the series by far. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it's the same kind of people who will tell you that Shadow sucks, that will tell you that Rise is like the worst game ever and borderline unplayable. So yeah, dude, whatever. Thanks for your opinion. I'm sure it's very educated. I'm sure it'll be very helpful to me. But there is no point like doing that. You know that, right? Yeah. So I put the trilogy back on memorylist with obviously a disclaimer that I don't know anything about Shadow, and I didn't finish Rise, but I did play the first game, and it was like, actually, if you're a fan of like Assassin's Creed Origins and Valhalla and whatever else Zoomers are playing, you will probably enjoy those games a lot. Honestly, may in fact even consider those a bit of masterpieces, right? Because that's what Zoomers basically do right now. They replay 7th gen games. Trash like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, they say, is now the best game ever, literally, in the history of everything, basically. Just because it's not quite as sloppy as something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And like, dude, Brotherhood is so bad. But to them, that's how they experience video games now, or video game history, rather. They leave the modern slop to slightly more dated slop, and they see it as classics now. And yeah, if I'm gonna like actually make something useful, like I decided to revisit the whole Tomb Raider, the Trauma series idea, and I think the right thing, because honestly I had quite a bit of fun with Rise. The way they structured the progression in the open world and everything is kind of shitty in the game. Like, I want to say the game is not very good at actually like putting its open world to good use, because the way they combined this like kind of like open-ended, do your own thing, survival exploration thing with the linear story and how the survival exploration thing progression is like super tied to the story progression. It's actually not even that bad of a story, and the story missions aren't even remotely as bad as something you'd find in like a Ubisoft game. But still, it's rather annoying that the game gives you this giant open world and basically tells you, hey, you want to do some exploration, and then you do some exploration and you realize that to do this thing you're missing the necessary equipment, you're missing the tool to do that thing. And it's like, why am I even wasting my time? Obviously the game wants me to basically just do the main story for the next, like 6 hours, and then go back and explore these areas, because it is a waste of time. Like legit, if you play Tomb Raider and like you do any exploration at all in the opening, I don't know, and I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, by the way, and still, like, it doesn't come up, the necessity to be very scrappy, the necessity to be absolutely 100%ing every single area you visit, for resources. No, you don't have to do that. But yeah, so that's never a problem. But what does happen is you utterly waste your time if in the opening, I would say 6 hours of the game, you do any exploration at all instead of just completely 100% focusing the main story. Then you will know, you'll get the feel, you'll get the spidey sense, telling you, okay, maybe I could do some exploration now. But if you have this idea that, let me explore something, dude, you're just wasting your time. You're gonna have to re-explore that whole fucking thing 5 times over, if you keep trying to explore before you push far enough into the main story. But hey, still, I had enormous fun with it, honestly. Just like compared to some of the quote-unquote modern sandboxes, oof. Okay, it's starting to rain, and I did say basically everything, so yeah, bye. Memory list updated. That's like the last thing that I wanted to declare, but it's not big enough to, make a separate sitrep for it or anything on Patreon. Okay.